Hey everyone, welcome to the 533rd episode of Just Shoot It, a podcast about filmmaking, screenwriting, and directing. This episode is brought to you by patrons Nathan Presley, Josh Nathan Basler, Paul Hibnick, and Marcus Helliker. I'm Oren Kaplan.
And I'm Matt and Oren. Today we've got a good old-fashioned Oren and Matt catch-up. We're talking scouting. We're talking what's going on in our lives, maybe even a little bit of travel, all sorts of stuff. We're going to find out how much we get through because we've got a lot of topics and we're both long-winded. So we'll see what we see. But we've both been pretty busy.
I was just talking about being long-winded the other day. I was driving down the 405.
You know what's crazy about being long-winded is, I'm so glad you brought that up.
Anyhow, does that joke even make sense? Not really.
Yeah, no, I get it. You're being long-winded about it.
Welcome to the metaverse.
Sure.
Anyhow, let's chat. I think, we'll tell people you can go to our Patreon, patreon.com/justshootitpod, and drop us $1 or 10, 20, 10. Did we make the $10 option? No. Dang it. We're going to do that. We, meaning Matt, is going to do that ASAP. Anyhow.
Yeah.
It's just,
Oren, can you even sign into the Patreon?
Can I?
Would you know how to?
Yeah, but it's like, you press one button and it affects all the other things.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Don't do it.
All of a sudden, we're paying our patrons instead of them paying us.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Anyhow, patreon.com/justshootitpod. That's where you go to do all the magic. Mm-hmm. You can be in, if you want to give us $0, you can do that too. And then you can just be a patron and find out about things and get tickets to our events without even paying us. So go do that, okay? Thank you. Anyhow, Matt, I've been dying to know, what have you been working on lately?
Yeah, I just got back from Toronto. I'm still a little stuffed up. It was a fun, hard shoot. And I was there for kind of a long time. And I brought my family along.
Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was really fun. It was more active than a normal travel job. When you go on a travel job, I assume you do like I do, where you basically live at the hotel unless you're working. Maybe you go to a movie or something. Do you literally do anything outside of client dinners and scouting and shooting and stuff when you're on a travel job?
No, I'm usually working 20 hours a day.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you're kind of there to work.
Yeah.
And eat. I love eating. It's my favorite thing to do. So I try to drag the DP or anyone I can, producer, to eat
to a nice meal,
to dinner. Yeah.
I maybe do that a little bit, but I also, there's a part of me that's don't spend money on a fancy, nice meal. My point is to be out and make money and bring it home. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of that's why you try to go to dinner with a producer, and then I just
sure.
The people know about that, right? That it's if you're a director and you're on a travel job and there's a producer, do everything in your power to have every meal with them because
they pay for everything.
They will pay for everything. Yeah, on the job. Which, by the way, you won the job, so you're part of the reason the job exists. So it's okay if you are being, fed.
Yeah, we had a weekend, which was part of it. I was I realized there's some stuff that I want, the build was starting on a Friday or whatever. I was going to check in on Saturday and Sunday. I was working over the weekend, but I had more free time. And then we stayed a day or two afterwards. So it kind of made more sense. And while I was doing all of this, I was pretty stressed about the job. I was pretty stressed about it because it was just a really full schedule. We were talking off mic about how, we typically shoot, maybe 2 or 3 30s in a day. 2 30s is kind of, this 130 is really the best, but we're not shooting very much screen time in a full jam-packed day of shooting. And this one was calling
in a commercial.
In a commercial, yeah.
Narrative, obviously, would shoot way more.
Yeah. This was shooting more than I think most narrative projects would be trying to shoot, frankly. I just was feeling stressed about it. And I kind of came up with a little theory that there were three types of people on set. There are the people who don't care if the end result is good, but know exactly how hard the job is going to be. And those are like your craftspeople. Those are people like, your camera operator, your first AC. They can look at the call sheet and see how many setups or whatever we're aiming for, and they can know like, oh, this day is going to be really full, or oh, this one's a little bit of a cakewalk. But they care about doing a good job. They don't care about like whether or not the movie is good necessarily, right? They're day playing. That's not strictly true, but you get what I'm getting at. They're not like coming home like, oh, honey, we made schlock today, right? And then there are people who really want the creative to be good, but haven't logged the same amount of time on set or have an understanding of the craft to understand how full or how hard the day is, right? Those tend to be like your more agency style people or your client, things like that. Client really wants it to be good, right? And we're kind of right in between them, where we really want it to be good for professional and personal reasons, and also have been logging all of the time with the crew, figuring out every minute detail. And so we know exactly how challenging it's going to be. And that makes us a little lonely. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I was scouting today with a DP and a production designer, and I mentioned to them that on this, that I just did a shoot and I was talking to the actor. Our main job is just to talk to actors all day, right? On set, camera person and the actors and the agency and a little bit. And I was remarking to them about how so many of the actors I talked to had been on a lot of other jobs, and they didn't remember who the director was. And I was like, wait, how can you are acted in something and you don't remember who the director was? And they're like, yeah, I mean, they talked to me a few times and that's it. And in my mind, and I told my production designer and my DP, I was like, I think if you ask me any job over the last 20 years, who the DP was, who the production designer was, and probably the names of the actors and probably the producer, I could tell you who it was. And it's because, in my opinion, it's because as the director, every one of those people is like a choice that I was involved in making. And then most of them I also spoke to a lot and I think we think about the actors way more than they think about us. But as a director, your brain is so loaded with every single detail of a production that when you're on set, realizing that nobody else has that, I don't know that it's lonely. I feel like a responsibility. Like this last shoot I just did, it's a lot of steady cam shots and not a ton of coverage. So steady cam shot to steady cam shot to steady cam shot to steady cam shot. Each spot is between 5 and 10 shots, but each shot is really complicated. And we would be on like take 11 of a shot, and the agency would be like, hey, we love take 3. Like, why are you shooting? Why do you keep shooting? Why do you keep shooting? Why do you keep shooting? We've already approved it. Please, let's move on. And my script supervisor is like, hey, you have 2 seconds for this shot and your take is 5 seconds long. And it's like that sometimes the agency and the client especially don't think about that stuff. And I'm like, this spot does not work unless we get this to be fast enough, or we can cut some words, or we can do something. And so it's like, as the director, it is lonely sometimes because you're the only one that cares about. It's not that you're the only one that understands what elements are necessary right now for this to work. And when I'm scared, which is often, that's when I start shooting coverage. That's when let's get an insert shot here, and let's get a close up, and let's get another size, let's get another angle.
Totally.
And then your AD's like, hey, I don't see this shot on the shot list. And your DP is like, what's this thing? And why isn't this the same as what we just did? And
you're like, can you just swing a lens real quick and just roll, please? Yeah.
And then you see the edit and you're like, oh, they use these weird angles. And you've lost all the elegance and the integrity of your spot.
Right. The whole thing that you kind of had figured out. Well, that's the other thing is like we carry through the majority of the process, and so that makes it different as well, right? Like, DPs are often like, oh, this will cut, and it's kind of like, well, you're not in the edit suite with us.
Oh yeah, I fought a lot with my last DP.
I believe you, but like you feel you've got a lot of authority for a person who's not literally doing that work, and
Right.
we'll be in a different country by the time I'm having this headache.
Yeah. I had so many fights with my DP. But I love him and I'm working with him again on this next job. But about the line, I'm like, we're crossing the line. And he's like, we're not crossing it. And almost every shot, the spokeswoman is talking straight to camera, but she's picking one thing up and putting it somewhere else. She's like, picking up a stool in one scene and like handing it to someone. And I'm like, okay, once she picks up the stool, the line is between her and the stool. So we can't be on her right side. The stool can't be on the left side. And then we cut to a shot where it's on the right side, unless it's like in motion. He's like, no, it's not. The line is between her and the camera. I'm like, not yes, but like, it's also between her and the stool. And it depends kind of where we're cutting. Anyway, it was just like such a fight on every single thing. And those are the things that, again, the agency isn't thinking about, the client's not thinking about. And sometimes even your cinematographer is not quite on the right side of the line of how all these things work.
And also, if you've got a scriptee, you have to kind of align with that person and whether or not you should be caring about that or not, right? Because the scriptee's job is to be annoying. And like, there's times where mine would, on this last job, it'd be like, that's twice as long as it's supposed to be. And I kind of had to be like, that's okay. We can go long on this one,
Right.
But like, especially on a travel job, you have to build rapport very quickly in order to figure out whether or not, like, what's important to you and what isn't. And so
you're negotiating with so many people.
Right.
That's why I think the previz, these are like so helpful.
Essential.
To show people like, hey, we have 1 second for the shot. We have 3 seconds for the shot.
But it's crazy to me that you can show someone a video and they still don't understand or believe you, like that. That's the thing that's so frustrating, unless you get somebody who's really experienced, which is always a delight.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk more about craft-o-matics when we speak about scouting, but I do relate to the loneliness epidemic in directing. And it, as much as I love working with new crews and stuff, there is something nice about working with your old trusted pals in that it's a little less lonely,
I'm on a job now that's a really fun mix of people that I've known for a long time and people that are new to the mix.
Yeah.
So that to me is a sweet spot for sure.
I think for you, if you just hire, if half your crew is named Matt, you're probably in a pretty good
I'm in a good
place.
Yeah, 100%.
So is there is there
a conclusion to that? Is there
something that you think can
a takeaway
make you less lonely?
Well, I mean, look, it's not that I'm like, oh gosh, so lonely, woe is me. But I think there's things to learn from both sides, right? I think that you can look at a person who's out of the know production wise and be empowered to the more you know and the more craft you have, the better your ultimate creative can be, right? So if you're an agency person on one end who doesn't know anything about how we make things, the more that they learn, the better they'll be at their jobs, right? So that seeing that and reflecting that back to myself is always a nice reminder to just always be practicing craft, always level up, be involved with everything so that you can see the ramifications of the decisions that you've made. That's how you get better as a director, right? When you're young, you don't know how hard things are or what's going to work or what's not going to work, right? And it's only until you make mistakes or see the success of something that you did inadvertently that you get better, right? And then the flip side is, relishing in the act of doing good work and not putting all of your sense of self or whether or not you have a good day based off of whether the spot is going to be at the top of your website is also something that I think is worth learning from,
I just to
do
add
good
to
work and be happy about it,
Yeah. I think another great thing to think about in terms of this being stuck between the people that don't care about the quote unquote don't care about the final product and the people that don't care about how the product is made is to try to imbue the other perspective to each group. So to tell your cinematographer, hey, just so you know, we cannot use orange in this low spot because to the client, that means Home Depot. And we are doing a Lowe's spot. So I know it seems weird that we can't have this warm orange light coming through this window, but that's why.
Yeah.
So let's actively now we don't need to have this conversation again. Just avoid orange, And then to the client, you can say the same thing, like, hey, just so you know, if you guys want us to move closer to this thing, we're going to have to change the equipment. Instead of using the slider, we have to go to the dolly with the jib arm. That will take us 45 minutes. I believe that we're shooting 8.6K. We can kind of get closer in post. And I think that will more than be sufficient. But if you want us to do this, like we're happy to do it. It just might mean we have to compromise some things later on in the day. And my move is always not so much with the crew, but with agency and client is like, I'm sure you know this, we've all done this a lot, but if we want to change the zoom lens, it's on the Steadicam, it might not look that good because it changes the entire configuration. So like trying to give them, assume they know it, but remind them that this is why this is difficult. Or a lot of times we talk about editing, like, hey, in the edit. And to me, the thing that I really hate it when Video Village is far away from set, because I want to be able to run over, like my ideal Video Village is like one wall away. Yeah. And I can hop over there and I can say, hey, just so you know, this shot is going to edit in here. And I imagine it like we'll go to the close up here in the middle, so we can mix and match any take. So if you like the beginning of this take and you like the end of this other take, it's not an issue. And I think just talking to them like they're your peers, like they understand editing and they understand filmmaking, but also reminding them and telling them what your plan is, like always.
Always. Yeah. When I think that's maybe it was Carlin. Somebody was like, oh, I just check in basically every setup. Just like if we're waiting for something to happen, go over to client and tell them why we're waiting. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I will say when things are not going well and I'm a little more stressed and I'm like maybe disagreeing with some things, I check in less.
Sure.
Because I'm like kind of avoiding conversations. Like I tend to be the director that likes the monitor on while we're setting up, so I can get notes fast and early. A lot of people like the monitor off until they have something ready to show. But yeah, in general, if they're starting to be really annoying with the notes, then I become more the latter of like, let me set this up and show it to you. Okay.
Yeah.
I have a backup plan if you don't like it.
Yeah. I have a fun tip actually that I just discovered on this last job. So it was a long day. We're shooting a ton. And at a certain point, the Video Village like clapped or applauded or laughed out loud or something like that. And the talent could hear it. And I saw the difference. They got lighter, they got more free. Of course, performers always, they
appreciate feedback.
But they appreciate feedback, and they're always nourished by that feedback, right? And so I went back and told the client, I was like, hey guys, like if you like something, let them know. I think it really helped. And from then on, they were far more vocal, right? They were given permission and encouraged to do that stuff, and it changed the timbre of the performances consistently. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, that is a good idea.
Yeah, and maybe
much better than my applause sound effect that I just
sure. Yeah, exactly. You've got a little clicker. Yeah. So it was fun. It was great. Toronto's a great city. I feel like I got a real understanding of it in a way that's different. I've also seen Nirvana, the band, the show, the movie in between the last time I was there and now. Really helped. And Myelin Kicks, actually.
Yeah, I found it. I like Toronto, but I don't find it to be that mysterious compared to LA.
Yeah, it's not mysterious. I also had some good food this time around.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got some food there.
They do.
I mean, they have like the poutine with a ton of gravy, the poutine with just a little bit of gravy, poutine with like medium amount.
Pea meal, which is bacon sandwiches, I think. It's like ground up bacon is what pea meal is, I think. I don't know. Don't come at me, Canadians. I'm sorry. You lost me a bacon.
That's cool. Yeah. Well, what was you shot on stage, right?
Correct. Yes.
And you built, how many sets did you build?
Just one, but it was a big U, basically. Big cove.
Oh, cool. And you shot everything there.
Correct. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Do you have a preference shooting on location versus shooting on stage?
I mean, the stage, I like locations for scene work for sure. Building on a stage is nice if the vision is really clear of like what we're aiming for. And this was the first time I'd ever had a production designer basically give me a 1-to-1 from like what they had asked for to what we shot. It was like literally exactly what they asked for. And also, he did a thing where he would model it in SketchUp and then put it into some AI imaging to make it photoreal. I know people have problems with AI. That feels like a pretty good way to bring, because SketchUp is pretty, it's still a little abstract. It's still a little hard to wrap your head around if you're not trained or not familiar with it. But seeing like the actual textures and the way that the light would bounce off it and all that stuff was actually, I think, really helpful for client and agency alike.
Interesting. Yeah. That's actually a good segue to what I've been doing, because I have been using AI I've been scouting a ton. I just shot a campaign at 5 different houses. And now my next job, I'm shooting in a courthouse and then another house. But the house needs to double as kind of like an event venue for like a rehearsal dinner, and as a therapist's office, which, I think a therapist's office you can build anywhere, like a home office location.
Yeah.
But to find that perfect house that would have a great office with non-white walls and interesting architecture, but it still pass for like a therapy scene, and like an amazing yard to have like kind of a wedding, like backyard wedding party type of event was tricky.
You want like a father of the bride house.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That's actually a great reference. I kept calling it the rich uncle's house. But Father of the Bride house is a perfect
which they shot in like at South Pasadena, like near the Huntington Botanical Garden. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm shooting in Dallas.
It's not that far from Michael Myers' house.
Oh, cool.
So Father of the Bride, Pee-wee's house, and Michael Myers there.
Friday the
Halloween.
13th. Halloween. Getting my streets mixed up. It's right next to Elm Street. Anyhow, so I've been scouting a ton, and I've been kind of, my method for scouting, especially in person, has been a little different. I also was scouting today and yesterday, and it seems like something that's happened over the last 5 years is, we make these like crap-o-matics or shit commercials or whatever you want to call them, previz videos.
I would love a better name than crap-o-matic. You know what I mean? Like it's just a rough previz.
Well, crap-o-matic, I guess, is by design. You're supposed to try to tell them like, hey, this is the super crappy version, just so we figure out angles and blocking and timing.
Yeah.
And I think you're like tripling down on how crappy it is.
Yeah.
So that they don't
think that it's the real.
So that they know it's going to be better. But something you said earlier, which is like, we showed them the video and then they still don't like believe us that that's what the commercial is going to be. And it's like, yeah, because we spend hours telling them that this is not what the commercial is going to be. But for my last campaign, I did basically like shot this crap-o-matic. Like I would shoot like I knew I needed 5 houses to shoot 6 different commercials, and I didn't know which commercial would shoot at which house. So at every house I went to, I would shoot the entire crap-o-matic with like, I told the producer, I was like, we need like 5 PAs on the scout, because I need every one of these things had at least 4 characters. Some of them had like 15 characters. And when you're trying to previs and shoot this stuff, you need the people in there to show the blocking.
You need to keep the characters consistent too. So it's like, okay, well, if you have your AD play the hero, then they have to be the hero for everything. Otherwise, it's confusing.
Yeah. So one thing I've been doing is these crap-o-matics at every location. And it is actually kind of a lot of work. And you're also like kind of trying to figure out the shot list on the fly.
Yeah.
Because I would shoot it differently at this location, this location.
And let me ask, when you're doing these, is this a director scout or is this the tech scout?
Director scout.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't.
I've been dealing with like situations where sometimes I don't get a director scout, or the director scout is literally just me. And so like, I haven't had time to like collaborate with my DP. And I just feel like I need time to like figure everything out before I show it to everybody. and then also present it to people. Like it's just there's some wrinkles in the process that just get bulldozed over.
Yeah. So on the campaign where I had to find 5 houses, I scouted 19 houses in 2 days with my army of PAs, and I shot probably like 40 different versions, 40 different crappomatics. And
Did the PAs sort of figure out what their roles were by the time you're like, yeah?
We had one. She was also our driver that ended up being the spokesperson, and she was really good, and she was wearing the same yellow jacket the entire time. So
awesome.
She was pretty consistent, but but everyone else was like not that good. Like our location scout is like on her laptop when she's supposed to be playing a character, so it's literally just like, there will be a human here, but they will not be doing this thing.
Right.
But it's hard because I'm just there. I'm like, okay, well, I guess we could start here and start here. Let's do a version where we're also here, and then maybe we do a version where we're here.
Yeah.
And for that job, I also needed like kind of nice transitions from shot to shot, and just some flow and like directionality. So it was really hard. So I did that 19 houses, got it down to the 5 approved houses, flew back with my DP, spent an entire day, just me and him, going to 4 of the locations, and then reshooting the crappomatics again. And
what camera did you shoot the crappomatics on? iPhone still?
Yeah.
Because I think I maybe mentioned, I've done versions now after having conversations with Mercedes Bryce Morgan. Sometimes bring the real camera if it's cheap enough or if it's handy. Like I was doing a job that was like FX6 or something, so it's just like just grab it. Just grab it. And so then you're literally like shooting with the right sensor and the right lens, and like it's less crappy basically.
Right.
But like hell, it still is it. You're informing yourself. It's not just for client and agency and explaining things to people. It's for us to figure out in a low stakes environment what we actually want. To experiment a little bit.
Right. Well, something I kind of realized with the iPhone is that when you're trying to understand how to shoot a location, and I'm sure people will disagree with me on this, but I really think it's like the wide shots that matter. It's not the 135 millimeter lens shot, it's not the insert shots. It's not the like super close ups. It's the wide shots, right? So to me, and the iPhone has a cinematic mode for the 1X, and I think it has it for all the lenses now, except for the 0.5. So I like being able to do some selective focus, even on my kind of crapomatic. So 95% of the time I'm on that 1X lens, which is kind of the equivalent of like a 24 or 28.
I think actually you can even hit it and it'll tell you. Yeah.
For photos, it'll go 24, 28, 35. But for video, I think it's just the 24. But it's on a Super 35 sensor, so we're shooting full frame. It's like a little wrong. But anyhow, so I shoot almost everything on that. Sometimes I'll go to the 0.5 and barely use the 2X or the 5X or whatever people have. I think 8X on the 17 Pro. And I find that the Apple's software, the camera software, first of all, it makes everything look pretty good. And it has this like if you're doing any dialogue for your crapomatic, usually people are talking and stuff. It has like this really good audio isolation mode, like the in-frame audio. And then I can do the focus racking too, which is really kind of, when I come back with the DP, they're usually using like the Blackmagic app or Filmic Pro or not Filmic Pro, CAD, whatever, all those DP apps.
Yeah, Artemis or whatever.
Artemis, where they're putting
CAD Rage or Cartridge or whatever. Yeah.
Where they're putting the sensor and the lens. So their versions always have kind of like all that camera info.
And it kind of looks worse.
Yeah, right? It looks way worse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is okay, because it looks like a little more technical. They have like frame lines on there and stuff. But so what we did then, we spent an entire day reshooting all of them. And then on the Tech Scout, we'd missed one house. Him and I went there 2 hours early, did the shoot there. By the way, him and I edited them all that night so we can show them to people when we got to set, the whole crew. And then for the rest of the day, we went to the other 5 houses, or all 5 houses, which were, some of them were like an hour away from each other, and spent an hour and a half. And he could just spend the entire time taking his crew through things. And I spent the entire time taking the agency through things and a little bit of art direction. But the first scout I was on had an art person on it. So it was complicated, but we got through it. By the way, Rick Darge was on the Frame Set podcast. It was a really good episode. And he said he brings his like Nikon. He has like the red camera, Nikon camera.
Okay.
That he brings to do his crappomatics.
Right. On the show.
Yeah. Anyhow, So that's like one thing that I've kind of been doing a lot. But this other thing that I'm going to show you now is that I've been making these decks to pitch locations, right? Like a big part of us, what we do is once we find the location, is we show what that location looks like to the client, right? So, so this job, there's 3 locations: a court, therapy office, and a rehearsal dinner. And so
Mhm.
I'm kind of pulling images mostly for the court you can see in the therapy office. For the dinner, I kind of AI generated them because I wanted to be more specific with like the lighting, the time of day,
Mhm.
that it's in a backyard, and how many people are there, because I know we were only going to have a certain number of extras. And then when I go to the real locations, you can see like this is an actual courtroom that we have. Like
Mhm.
I show 4 images, 3 images of the location, and 1 image where I've taken the location and put it in,
Mhm.
Nano Banana or Photoshop or whatever, and totally mocked up like the characters and the lighting. But I tell it like, do not change the
Mhm.
architecture at all. And then like this next location, like here's a cool corner of this house, and here's like the AI mock-up. Here's another corner we can use
Mhm.
for the therapy office, and here's an AI mock-up. Same for the yard. We can, in the living room, we can set up this dinner, or in the
Mhm.
backyard, we can set up the dinner. And I feel like it's kind of a pretty cool way to sell a
Yeah,
location.
connect the dots for people, for sure. Yeah. I'm looking at one for people who aren't watching on YouTube or anything. There's one where, you're looking to do a rehearsal dinner, and like the house is really nice and it's quite grand, and there's kind of like these archways with pillars. But then the mock-up that you did is at golden hour. There's string lights, and there's a large buffet, or not buffet table, like large dining table
Like a dinner
that
table, yeah.
runs dinner table the through basically the uh, multiple archways. And you're like, oh, I see, this does feel classy, this does feel cool, this feels authentic to a event space. Basically, it's like, how do you make the leap from backyard to
Right, from
event
patio
space?
to,
Yeah.
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 Same with this one, where it's like kind of
Now, the trick is like keeping an eye out for like anything that the AI would accidentally do to embellish the feasibility of this, right? Like, I'm looking at, you've got one now where it's like poolside.
mhm.
Are you confident that the distance between the pillars, like, is there enough room for the table
Yeah, I
the way
mean,
the AI
honestly, here, I
represents?
think I would put the table under the canopy. We're kind of trying to be a little like rain, like
Mm.
if it's might rain a little bit, that our actors
Hmm.
don't get wet.
Yeah, it's like
um,
rain on your wedding day.
yeah, so
It's a
I
free
think this
ride.
is a little wrong, but I think the idea is correct. I did have an issue with one of these locations where my AI, wasn't, this was a remote scout, so I wasn't there. And my AI made the people really small. And my producer was like, yeah, this is like total, this scale is totally
Yeah,
wrong.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
So
true.
I went to Photoshop and I kind of changed everything. Like this one, it had, some people were tiny.
I I think this technique is really interesting. I guarantee there will be unintended consequences of, because AI is always like a false promise. Do you know what I mean? I'm curious to see if it surprises you in any way, shape, or form. You know,
Yeah, I do think
scale
it's,
being like, that's like a pretty big one.
yeah,
Yeah,
scale's the biggest issue. But I do think like even showing this to my production designer, like, hey,
sure.
let's like and my storyboard artist, frankly, because like the storyboard artist, you can show her a room that has a treadmill in it and a rowing
Mm-hmm.
machine, and it's like, this is a gym, but we're going to turn it into a bedroom. you
Mm-hmm.
know it's much easier if I can tell the AI, like I can even draw a stick figure bedroom and then say, hey, turn this into a photo where the stick figures are
Is
photorealistic.
Are you actually shooting at a Frank Lloyd Wright house?
Yeah, this was our recommendation, and this has been,
That is insane. Are
yeah,
there like issues with like,
like
you
legal,
know,
like clearance and stuff.
or just like, is it a historical site, or like, if you like nick that door,
Yeah, is that going to be
you
an
know what I
issue?
mean? Yeah,
Probably. The saving grace is that they've shot other things here before, and
yeah,
they're, I guess, a pretty popular place. I
yeah.
mean, they have this like backyard that's like, it looks like, Yamashiro or something. Like you're kind of in the middle of this cool little oasis. So
yeah, he's integrating the natural environment into the space. There's expand and contraction is his big thing.
yeah,
You you walk into the mudroom and you're like, I feel cramped, and then you walk from the mudroom into the dining room and you feel so much better. The ceiling is higher, everything like opens up.
the ceilings are really interesting in this whole house. Yeah, I mean, there is an issue where there are some pieces of furniture that we just are not allowed to move.
Sure.
But yeah, it's always, it happens with actors too. Sometimes you can get like, oh, this guy is what every single person pictured. It's what was in the treatment, wasn't it? He's an amazing actor. And this other guy is just so unexpected and weird and interesting and unique. And there's something interesting about him. And it's like, who do you cast? Now, when the house is a Frank Lloyd Wright house, it's a little easier to be like, hey, let's go with this totally weird, different from all of our references location, because
you've got Frank the name Lloyd brand Wright. Of like the most famous American architect ever, basically. Yeah.
But
what a treat!
It does have these weird quirks that we will see if we can work around.
Have you ever been to the Hollyhock house?
Of course. I talked about it many times during the scout. Because of an interesting detail that maybe you're about to tell us.
Probably about to tell you. They had basically like a little river that would run through it. Do you know this? Is this the detail?
No, this is not the detail. But
so he was always about kind of integrating the natural landscape into the home and kind of like melding them together. And so there was literally like a water feature that like ran through the house. And this is made for like a billionaire up on the top of the hill in the middle of Los Angeles, and it stank so bad. There was the water was just like immediately filled with algae and moss, and it reeked. It just smelled like sewage, basically. And they had to like plug it after 2 months of living there.
Oh, that's funny.
So if you ever tour it, you were like, what's this weird kind of like beautiful stone pathway that snakes through the whole house? That's it. Yeah,
that's funny. A detail I heard about it on the tour was that, and I think this is a Frank Lloyd Wright detail more than a Hollyhock house detail, but it pertained to Hollyhock as well, which is not only does he design the house and the architecture and all that stuff, he also, chooses the furniture, the interior design, and how it's used, and he will give you some recommendations and ideas on what you should wear when you like what kind of outfit matches like the aesthetic and the flow and the like.
That's excellent. What a maniac. Also, like, have you ever like sat in any of that furniture or recreations of that furniture? It's so beautiful and like impossible to use. It's like so uncomfortable.
Yeah, and supposedly he was like a very mean guy.
Yeah, it was not nice.
But yeah. So scouting, it's tricky, and it's like everything that has kind of been democratized. When we work with a scout, they'll send you like I was showing you these houses. Like one house is called Denver, one house is called Floyd. One house is called Frida. Like the scouts just make up names for these houses because there's kind of this idea that they don't want you to be able to find them without them. They're kind of like gatekeeping a little bit which makes sense.
It is nice to have a code name, so that we can all just be like, if you're trying to reference, like, should we pick between Floyd or Denver? That's easier than like, should we go with like 1165?
You can just say Maple Avenue or
sure,
Hollyhock Street. But now that we all have access to like, Gigster and Peerspace, all of a sudden, you're like not happy with what the scout is showing you. You're going on here, and now. Like with the courts, I mean, was really hard to find a courthouse that would let us shoot on a weekday. And so I'm like talking to Claude. I'm like, hey, I need to find a courthouse in Dallas. Like, what's the deal? What would you do?
Also,
should I build it?
Do you just build it? Yeah.
The problem is it's a pretty big build if you want all the traditional. If you want windows
and wood,
and the wood. Floor to ceiling wood, and then you need the bench, and then you need the gallery of wood benches, and the railings, and the jurors box.
In LA, that's 100% rentable, but also there's standing sets
In
you know?
LA, yeah. I honestly tried to push the shoot to LA multiple times because of how easy it is to get court sets here,
Hmm.
and they said no. But I got to tell you, man, shooting all over the country, it's just so hard to beat LA. And I mean, Texas is cool in a lot of cool ways, but like my coffee at my hotel my drip coffee was $8. I'm like,
Hmm.
is this place really that much cheaper than LA?
Yeah, yeah, I don't know.
Anyhow, so yeah, I'm curious if other people have other like scouting tips and tricks. I mean, I
Hmm.
think probably everyone knows about like Sunseeker, which is the tool that
Yeah.
lets you know the sun path.
I actually want to talk to you about Tech Scouts a little bit because that's what I was on today. And,
Or what's your
you know,
location? Your
it's
Shania?
it's an office building in Hollywood. It's like in the middle of Hollywood. It used to be a Netflix building, and it's pretty cool actually. I think it's it's only been up for shoots relatively recently, and I was like, it has to be new. Otherwise, we would absolutely know it. Do you know what I mean? We've shot so many offices. It would be insane to have this good of a location. It's 3 stories. There's all sorts of different features. They all have different vibes. It's pretty great.
But did you just say that it used to be a Netflix
It
office?
was in a Netflix office before. Yeah, yeah. So it's been open like this for about a year,
Oh, okay, so that's why.
basically. Yeah, yeah. But so we were on the Tech Scout, and like I said, it's a mixture of familiar faces and some newer ones. And people are kind of trickling in, and there's another shoot going. And we just never did the thing of like the AD or me or a producer just being like, okay, everybody, let's circle around. I'm going to walk you through all the stuff that's happening. Right. Like just to level set. It didn't feel, it was unstructured in a way that I found I didn't like it. I would prefer things to have much more of a linear path, but because I was still figuring things out, just felt like I was kind of scatterbrained, just kind of bouncing around instead of being like, okay, everyone, here's the plan, questions, thoughts, let's pitch on it, let's fix it. What's wrong with this? How can we make this better? Like it wasn't linear, and because it's a big day,
Did you guys all
it
get there
felt
at the same
strange.
time?
Approximately.
Was it your first time
Approximately.
at the location?
It was my first time with the crew at the location. I had walked it with my producer, but there were no ports. I have a shot list, but it was more
Just for you?
preliminary. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, because the creative had shifted a little bit, and like the spot where we were shooting had changed. I was kind of pitching different rooms, partially because of light, and then I realized we could push our call time later, so it was fine.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've been in that situation so many times that now I'm kind of demanding I get to go with the DP at least an hour before everyone else. Something that happened today, I also scouted an office. I was with Brad, the producer, and Gwiz, DP, and Britt, the production designer. And Brad knows that I like to do like previz, like crapomatic and stuff. And he was the one that was always like, do you want to just shoot it here? Do you want to shoot the shots? Do you want to? And I'd be like, yeah, let's do it. And Gwiz, the DP, was there. So in every potential location to set the scene, even though we didn't quite know, it was our first time there. We didn't know where the scenes would be set. I would just like act as the character and Gwiz would just shoot it. And our character wears a green hat and a green shirt and green shorts. And so I wore a green hat and a green shirt. And it was a 2-day scout. We're scouting yesterday too. And I'm doing that like intentionally so that I'm just kind of starting to feel that stuff. And it's helpful when you have a producer and a DP that are also in the same mindset of like, let's
Yeah.
just shoot the stills.
Yeah.
And it takes actually a load off of me because usually I feel so stressed out about taking photos on a scout, even a tech scout, just to make sure we know the angles, so we're not figuring it out on the day. But yeah, it is definitely a reason why it's nice to work with the people that you worked with before.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But
So if you have other ways, I guess I wonder if I should have just kind of like, I would speak up here and there and kind of like talk to the whole room.
yeah.
But you know,
I think what you're talking about is like you're working with a new company for the first time that is kind of a unique player in the space and
Mhm.
does creative in a weird way. And when you are new in that, it's, we've both worked with companies where the director is like the most important person on set, and we've worked with companies where the director is like the least important person on set.
Mhm.
And so when you go to a new company, especially one that the brand of the company is
Yeah.
sometimes bigger than the brand of the work they do, you're unsure if you should be like, okay, guys, listen to me. This is what we're going to do. Or
Right.
you're kind of waiting to see what the flow is.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And I've been on other people's scouts once or twice before, and I always want more structure. I want to be able to be like, okay, guys, we start here, we go there, we do da 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 da, and then let everybody splinter off and ask questions and do their own thing and take measurements and all that stuff. I always want more of that. And when it feels like people are trickling in or no one has kind of stepped in to be like, this is what's happening, it just feels unfocused to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that is what's nice about having a storyboard packet at the Tech Scout,
Mhm.
And then to me, like, because I'm not great at being like super loud when there's a big group of people and everyone's
Mhm.
talking to each other, I'll usually just call the DP and the production designer and sometimes the AD, and I'll be like, hey guys, and I'll just talk to them. And if they think that they're the key grip and gaffer need to listen, or the art director or props or whatever need to listen, they'll
Mhm.
call them. And I know I only need to call two people, the DP and the production
Mhm.
designer.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, but it's tricky. I still don't know how we get through some of these shoots. Like this thing you just shot where you have to shoot like 400 spots in a day, or the thing I shot a couple months ago where we shot, like 15, 12 spots in a day. It's like, we just point the camera somewhere and shoot, like how
Mhm.
you have to forget that things
Yeah.
need to be perfect and you just have to go with
Yeah.
turn on the camera, stand here, do the lines, and then take two. Maybe we can do something a little better.
Mhm.
Take
Mhm.
three.
Sure.
You fix
Yeah.
the problem from take two and then move on to the next thing.
Next. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, exciting stuff.
It's good to be busy, feeling good. Like it feels like the year is fully in swing. People are shooting.
Can I ask you
You
an
know.
annoying question?
Yeah.
Are you happy with the Capital One Venture X card that you opted for as your travel
Yeah. No, that's a
now that you just did a kind of travel to another country job?
I don't know if people will think this is interesting or not,
Oh,
but I got a Capital Venture X Capital One card.
yeah. Which we did talk about on the podcast. That's why I
We
think
did,
it's
yeah, yeah.
mildly relevant.
And I am very glad to be being far more strategic about points. I paid for when I stayed longer with my family, I had to pay for the hotel room, and like didn't want to move rooms and all that stuff, so I used points to pay for it.
Can I ask
And
you if you asked
yeah,
the company if you could stay a couple extra days? Or you were just like,
yeah.
I'm going to stay a couple extra days. I'll pay for it.
I had a conversation with the producer about it basically because I could have not flown in quite so early. Like I did a lot of work and I'm very glad that I did and that I had time to like acclimate and just kind of get boots on the ground. But the rest of the team landed a little bit later. I could have done that. And so I think it was a very clean compromise for me to pay for a little bit of the trip, the parts that were pleasure, and
Hmm.
they extended. I was there for longer for work when I probably would have been remote for that stuff otherwise. But I'm really glad that I was strategic about points. I think that every person needs to think about what airline they fly and
Airports.
what airports they're flying out of, and then also what lounges, if that's important to you, what lounges you would have access to. So Venture X is I think the cheapest of that type of credit card, and so their lounges tend to fill up. And also the LAX lounge is in Bradley, which is international. So if you're not flying international a ton, then you probably aren't going to be at that lounge, and it's a hike to get there, so it wouldn't be worth it.
Right.
I'm
And
not super
Canada doesn't quite count as international sometimes.
correct. Yeah. So though I have had decent luck with getting into Canadian lounges through my card because it has the priority pass. I don't like being in the lounges that much. I think you made the point that it was like, oh, you're going to spend $20 on a breakfast bowl. That's bad. And $8 on a cup of coffee. So if the lounge provides me with a cup of coffee and a mediocre breakfast, I'm happy. Then that's money saved, basically. That's where I'm at with those lounges. I don't really care to be like wined and dined. I'm in it for the points. I paid for, we're going to a wedding points, like that. That's the stuff for me, basically,
Cool. Yeah.
So, but if I could do it over again, I maybe would pick a different card based off of my airline and Burbank and lounge access. Yeah, I think there's a smarter card for me, I think.
Yeah. I was the DP I traveled with. He has the same Amex, the Delta Amex.
Yeah. So
And
if you're Delta committed, then it's a different deal.
Yeah, but it's there's something nice. He got upgraded to like automatically upgraded to first, and we get to go to the lounge together. And I'm like, and he's like, yeah, every DP I know has this card. And I'm curious how it's working out. But if you do switch, highly recommend that Delta one.
Well, we flew out of LAX for this last trip, and so I was like, is this worth it or not? But we spent a ton in parking, and which is reimbursed, but still, it's just like it's such a rigmarole because I live so close to Burbank, and United flies out of Burbank. It is a worse airline than Delta, but I haven't flown Delta in a long while. I think flying is just terrible. Flying is terrible, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Do you feel like it's less terrible on Delta?
I feel like it's 10 times less terrible, and I don't mind
really
getting to the airport like 3 hours early because I just especially if it's a work day, you just have such a comfortable place to work, unlimited drinks and whatever. And I don't know, but I flew with when my Kara's family's from Cleveland, so a lot of times she has the Southwest card, so we get to go one way Southwest and the other way Delta, and it's always like night and day difference, like those trips.
Oh, sure.
One of them were like wined and dined, upgraded, free luggage, like priority, boarding, all the things, treated like royalty. Like on the other one, we're like begging them to let us not check our luggage, like waiting in long lines, and we're paying because I'm gaming the system as much as I can. We're paying about the same for each one, Yeah. Anyhow, a lot of welcome to people just discovering credit card points. The podcast.
Yeah, right. Well, Oren, do you have a minute to hang out and endorse with me?
I do.
Unpaid endorsements.
If you liked Jury Duty Season 1, you're going to like Jury Duty Season 2. So instead of them being in a jury duty, they're at a corporate retreat. And the thing that's the premise is relatively similar in that it's like kind of a kooky cast of characters that kind of feel a little sitcom-y, and they're all there to be, part of a documentary, but one person, the hero, they call them, is not in on the joke, doesn't know that this is all scripted.
Same director, Dick Zamansky.
Same director. Yeah, same team, all of that. The thing that's incredible about it is that they basically doubled the number of cameras that they were shooting, right? They went from a small, a jury space and courtroom and stuff like that to a pretty open campus. So they're kind of going all over the place. But the thing that I noticed that I think they did an even better job is that they scripted the beats so that they kind of lead the hero to, if they're betting on his curiosity and his character to advance plot lines. You know what I mean? Whereas in the first season, it was kind of like he was there and a crazy thing would happen and he'd be like, whoa, that was crazy. In this season, a crazy thing would happen. He would be like, whoa, that's crazy. Maybe, look, I just found this clue. Should we go over there? And they planted the clue and they directed him to be looking in the right direction to see the clue and make the conclusion, oh, we should go over there. But they just they lay the breadcrumbs are so fun and delightful in this one. And they do a really incredible job with the casting. Both of the improvisers are all awesome. If you're in the improv community, you probably recognize a few people.
But they have to be less like not too famous.
They're not famous enough that a normal person would recognize them. But the guy they picked, he's like a really upstanding, sweet, generous guy. So the one thing that is hard about the show is like towards the end, you can feel the reveal is coming. And you do get that sinking feeling of like, this guy has really like put himself out there and has like feels like he's connected and has built real relationships with these actors. And the actors are acting. They are lying to him. And so the last episode, it's not a spoiler to say the last episode where they have revealed everything is kind of a tour of how they did it and how it all worked. And you're kind of they walk the character through what happened and how they did it all. And you kind of like follow his journey along of like the reveal of how it all came to be. It's pretty fun. It's a delight, and I think that.
Do you feel like you just spoiled the ending, or no?
No. Because there's like a whole plot line. Like it's to spoil. Oh, that they let him know that it's a prank at the end of the show. Yeah, that's all I said.
Is James Marsden in it?
He is not in this one. No. Yeah. Maybe he makes a cameo.
Yeah, it's funny. Cool. Well, I'll check it out. Is it on like Freevee or something weird like that?
Well, Freevee got absorbed. No, it's just Prime Video. Freevee is over. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Kaplan, what you got?
So I think I've talked about this before that I have like I worked on some Canon printer commercials and I took a printer from the last shoot. And so now I have a color printer that I've had a laser printer all the years. Now that I have a color printer, it's like changed the whole game with like my kids. And because I got it for my shoot, I got a ton of ink also. So I'm like not precious about wasting it. So
they paid you in ink.
We have this thing with our kids where we don't like let them watch any screens during the week. But I think I'm interested in changing that rule to you can only watch a screen if it's something I want you to watch with me, you know? Like that I could be like, hey, let's watch. Like I wanted to watch One Piece, that like anime turned TV show on Netflix that our nanny was the writer on with my daughter. But I'm like, oh, but we have this no screens rule. But can I watch one episode with her, like after my son goes to sleep? Anyway, so I'm always like on the hunt for like just things to entertain them after school. And one day, I don't know how I came up with this, but I just like looked up like printable arts and crafts. And we have a bunch of cardstock. We've been printing these like cool, like
kind of foldable.
Yeah, foldable things. So it's just like, this is like a Boba Fett character. Today we did all Star Wars things, like an R2-D2.
Awesome.
And you just print it out like on cardstock, and then it tells you where to cut it. The hard part is you have to slice a lot of slots for like tabs to fold into. So I just do the slots with like a X-Acto knife, and then my son just cuts everything else out with scissors. And it's like an hour of entertainment. Yeah. And then at the end, he has like all these little figurines. We have like a Spider-Man, and and it's all free. I just type in like papercraft into Google, like free printable papercraft. And there's like a ton of people that make this. QBcraft.com has a lot. CUBEE craft. So it's cool.
That's great.
I love paper stuff.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Anyhow, well, if you like anything, please email us. We're desperate to hear from you. JustShootItPod@gmail.com. You can find us across all social media at JustShootItPod. I'm on Instagram at OKaplan.
And I'm at Mr. Matt and Oren across all social media. This episode was edited by Kevin O. Yang. Our social media is owned by Lily Bouvier and produced by Tyler Small. And you're listening to music provided by the Free Music Archive and the artist Jazar. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks.
Goodbye.
Bye.